Okay, so I decided to do one more tonight. It's not too late. Anyhow, so we're going to do with Act 3, Scenes 2 and 3. They're fairly brief, but meaningful. All right, so the summary goes, Lady Macbeth now begins to show signs of strain, and we hear that Macbeth suffers terrible dreams. Right, so she actually, thinks that, this is actually not worth what they've had to go through in order for it to happen. The lack of peace that they have is not worth the eminence that they've gained from it. Right. For a moment, Macbeth and his wife show understanding and sympathy for each other, but the moment does not last long. Macbeth keeps secret from his wife the plot to murder Banquo. Right. He says this even something. A deed will be done of dreadful note, and she said, "What's the deed will be done?" And he says, "Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed." So, unlike the dearest partner of greatness that she was before, she is now not in on his secrets. He doesn't trust anyone, not even his wife. And interestingly enough, at the beginning of the scene, she says, "Say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words." So she even has to ask permission to be in his presence. So things have changed quite a bit. So there's a bit of strain there, right? And Macbeth says, "Full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife." Right? So he's being tortured by this to the point where he actually kind of envies Duncan, because Duncan at least is at peace. Anyhow, then Macbeth calls upon Sealing Knight to hide his wickedness. We remember how Lady Macbeth, before the murder of Duncan, had called for the knight, shrouded in the dunnest smoke of hell, to hide the murdering dagger from the sight of heaven. Right, so that scene is a brief one, but we can start to see the cracks in the relationship between Macbeth and his wife. Right, the next scene takes us outside of the castle to where two murderers lie in wait for Banquo. Now, they're a bit surprised by the arrival of a third murderer. And we'll talk about that in a second. So, outside the castle, the two murderers wait for Banquo and Fleance. It is a surprise to us as well as them when a third hired assassin appears. Macbeth can trust no one, not even the thugs he first appointed to murder Banquo. Now, the identity of that third murderer is never made clear, and that is one of those things, like whether or not to show the dagger in the dagger scene, that the director has to choose. So sometimes it is one of the witches in disguise, sometimes it is one of the lesser nobles who has decided to be on Macbeth's side, and other times it is Seaton, who is Macbeth's butler, who we haven't met in any sort of tangible way yet. In any case, as Banquo approaches the castle, they strike out the light, and he is murdered. But Fleance escapes. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about the fact that Fleance escapes. So we know now that the prophecy about Banquo's children being kings is likely to come true if Macbeth's best attempt to murder him is not successful. Now, there's a term for that, and that term is the tragic force, and you should have a definition of that from that first slideshow we did. Right, the moment at which it becomes clear that the catastrophe is going to happen. Right, Macbeth cannot avoid his fate despite his best efforts. So Fleance or Fleance's descendants will become kings regardless of anything Macbeth does. Okay, so Macbeth is on his way down, starting now.